What up, YouTube? It's Two Fat Guys Pull Us, and right before you get to the video, we wanted to just include you into some information about our channel. We're in the middle of a milestone giveaway. If we hit 500 subscribers, we're giving away a slab. What slab are we giving away, Nate?
We're giving away a CGC graded 9.4 Wolverine #1 with a custom label as well, a custom Wolverine label. This is the #1, the first in his ongoing series.
Yes, but the only way we can give it away is if we hit 500 subscribers. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and yeah, so let's get on to the video, shall we? What up, YouTube? It's Two Fat Guys Pull Us, and we got another comic book video for you. It's not really news, but it's kind of like in the middle. It's like current events. Current events and research. You know, as the middle says, what the hell is Substack? Is it the future of comics? Yeah, so if you've been living under a rock or you just don't know what the hell is going on, a bunch of comic book creators, artists, and writers are branching out. They're not necessarily, not all of them are leaving Marvel or DC, but they're pursuing independent online comics. Subscription-based service, basically. So Substack is a newsletter platform that you can use to create your own newsletter, interact with your fans, and people can subscribe to that. And you can also charge money to subscribe to said person's newsletter, or now podcast, and now comics. So we've got, you know, a huge number, not a huge number, but a decent handful of comic book creators, writers, and artists jumping to Substack to create their own content and independently own their own content, which isn't really a new idea, right?
No, not at all. I mean, this is kind of like Image 2.0, right? I mean,
it's the Image Revolt 2.0. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, it very much feels like a cyclical nature. Ron kind of said that today too. Like it, you know, writers get super pissed and artists get pissed and they go do their own thing, and then they're super successful at it, and then they kind of come back in the fold. You know, Jim Lee's like one of the main people at DC right now, but you know, and here we go again. We're kind of going right back into the same thing. People are kind of tired of being forced into the confines that we say Marvel and DC, but we might as well say Disney and AT&T are putting these writers in. And you see creators like Tynion who just straight up say, actually, you know what? Instead of signing a new, you know, long-term contract like I was just about to do, I've been super lucky, or I mean, he's not lucky, he's fucking talented, but you know, he's had so many independent books do well for him that I think he had those as a backbone that he said, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. And yeah, we're getting a bunch of tiny little images, a tiny little I don't know, Substack imprints, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, so basically, you know, like I was saying, the concept before of Substack newsletters, now podcasts and comics, so it's digital comics, right? So we've got all these writers and artists who are jumping to Substack, and you can subscribe to that individual artist or writer or team, in Hickman's case, and you can subscribe to these or just the artists themselves, and they're going to offer you a digital comic or comics, put that in parentheses because some of them are doing that. You get behind the scenes looks behind the product, you know, sketches, early paneling, writing, scripts, access to talking to the community that have subscribed to that writer or artist. And also you get, I think some of them have like video chats set up where you know, they're going to engage with the community. So I think the baseline subscription that I've seen amongst all of these creators is between $7 and $8 for a monthly fee, right? And then there's an annual fee that most of them all are around $80, and then they have incentive tiers, you know, big, you know, spend $250 and you get even more stuff like physical printed copies of the first issue or variant covers of the first issue. Yep. And then they're like, some of them have even bigger incentives where you get like a collected version. So, you know, we'll break it down. We're going to go into a couple. We're going to go into James Tynion. We're going to go into Jonathan Hickman, Donny Cates and Stegman, and Chip Zdarsky's. But let's kick it off with what you will get when you subscribe to James Tynion's Substack. So, you know, we got that pulled up here. he did a full-on newsletter on his Substack talking about his decision to step away from DC, and the reason, he breaks it all down, right? And you're a little bit more well-versed than I am on his end because you actually read a lot of it.
Yeah, so I've actually been subscribed to his free Substack. I didn't even realize it was Substack. I just signed up for it through his website, but
right.
I've been on that, Chips and Jason Aaron's for quite a while now. But yeah, I mean, he gives a lot of detail about like what happened and what the thought process is, and I'm sure if anyone's a Tynion fan or has been following his Batman run, you know that he really wasn't even supposed to get this far into the run. He was just supposed to fill in when the Tom King run didn't go as planned. And then after Joker War was so successful, they were like, hey, keep going.
Right.
So he did for a while, but then it got to the point where it was time for him to re-sign his contract, and he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to put up with it. So there's a lot of different things that he points out that I won't list them all because you should go read it. It's really good.
Yeah.
The one thing that I find most interesting that he brings up is something that seems to be a theme for everybody involved, and that is the desire to abandon social media, essentially.
Right.
He talks about the intense scrutiny and the inability to engage with fans and consumers on an appropriate level without fans or critics crossing those lines consistently and being toxic and really being destructive. And so this is a way to sort of get out of that. He's even going so far as to he will be shutting down his own personal, like James Tynion IV Twitter will be shut down in September, and then the only one that will be open is the Empire of Tiny Onion Twitter, which is just going to be like run by a hired person that just pumps out promotional stuff about his work. Right. Hey, this issue of this comic's coming out, this issue of that's coming out, and that's it. There's not going to be any engagement with Tynion anymore on Twitter.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so, but that seems to be the case with everybody. That seems to be a really big point for most of these creators.
Yeah, I remember because I think Teenie Howard has one too, and I signed up. I saw on Twitter she's like, I'm taking a break, and so I signed up for her newsletter, and she like literally said that word for word, like, I'm done with social media. If you want to interact with me or you want any of my thoughts, it's going to be in my Newsstack newsletter. And I think as a whole, and I get this, like I totally understand why someone would want to leave a toxic place like Twitter or social media in general. People just are nasty on social media. They can be totally, keyboard warriors that they don't have any form of responsibility, or you don't, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no ramifications for what you say online. Like no one's going to tattle on you, or you're not going to get in trouble. So anyway, with Tynion, when we first broke the news that he was leaving DC, this is what he popped up with on his tiers of like what you are going to get. So his is $7 a month, and you get access to every comic. It says on here that he's going to produce early bird access and special covers and merchandise. And then he's got a $75 annual, which is the same thing. Get basically the same. You get the same perks, but then I think you get like, what is it? Extra or first 24-hour glimpses into things.
It says anyone that. Pretty much the only difference is if you signed up in the first 24 hours, which of course you can't do that now.
That's over now, yeah.
That it was you get signed single comic books that he's pulling from his own collection of his books. He says, I'm going to try to nab you some goodies, rare covers, etc. There's no guarantees that they'll be 9.8s or anything, but they'll be great. But that's gone, so that's not happening.
Yeah. And then he's got, I think he's got a giant tier, which is like $250, and that gets you like variant printings and like, you get basically special versions, printed versions of his comics that he's coming out with, and that's a lot of money.
It is, yeah. It's specifically what it says is, it's $250 a year, 6 extremely exclusive covers from 6 different projects over the course of a year that will not be made available from any other sales platform. They will not be available at a web store or in a comic book store. They will not be available for any other paid subscribers, monthly or otherwise. The absolute only way to get these 6 covers is to sign up for this.
That's pretty intense. Let's jump into the other 3 really quick before we really break down like how we feel about this idea overall. So let's go to Hickman's. Hickman's is 3 Worlds, 3 Moons. He's collaborating with, I believe, Teeny Howard, Ram V, Al Ewing, and
Mike Del Mundo.
So again, this one, I am intrigued with Hickman's Substack project. I will tell you that right now. That being said, if you, and again, we'll put the links to each Substack and what they provide in our description, so you can go and read. But because I think it's important to read all of these, I think they do a decent job of telling you what you're going to get and what to expect. And the thing I get from Hickman's is, again, just like Tynion, he has some qualms with the community. It feels like with Marvel in general, and just the comic book industry in general, because he kind of talks about how, like, he doesn't want to be put in a box. He doesn't want to be, I don't want to write 20 issues so we can make 2 trades or whatever, or how many ever trades. He doesn't like being dictated how to structure his storytelling. And I get that. I mean, if you read a Hickman book, it's grandiose, it's complex, it's broad. I mean, holy shit. I mean, reading Decorum right now, if you've read the first issue and you just stop there, that book is completely different in issue 6. Like, it's just intense. And like, I know that his other runs with Marvel, like the Avengers or anything else that he's written there, are quite girthy. So we get a little bit of that spiciness in his Substack, where he's just kind of fed up with the model of current comic book industry and how things are written and how things are produced. And I don't blame him for that, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like if he wants to write a story the way he wants to write a story. So if it's going to be 20 issues, great. If it's going to be a one-shot, awesome. But no one's going to tell him how to dictate that story. And so he doesn't have to work in the confines of those types of structures when it comes to writing a good comic book. But if you go down, he's got his tier list down there as well, and he talks about the creators that are going to be involved in it, and then he jumps into what you'll get if you decide to jump in. So I believe this one is $8 a month, and you get access to, I believe it's just the one comic. I could be wrong on that.
What I understand is that you are getting access to the concept universe that is 3 Worlds and 3 Moons.
Okay.
So there will be, he says, of course, there will also be an endless number of comics that will be added to this unfolding mythology. This is the launch of a brand new entire universe in comics, a new and exciting place to tell the best possible stories with no boundaries. So it seems that if you're signed up here, you'll get access to any comic, whether it's written by him or not, that is involved in the 3 Worlds, 3 Moons concept universe.
Gotcha. And so to me, the fear there is, well, Hickman's going to post, upload, give you comics whenever he feels like, whenever he wants to, which is his right on Substack. But to me, that freaks me out a little bit. Like, hey, I'm paying $8 a month. I haven't gotten anything. And again, that's an assumption. I'm sure content will be flowing. But the one thing that I get, or a sense that I get with all these Substack announcements, is they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants. There's no real model outside of pricing. And, again, we'll get into the back end of, like, do we think $8 or $7 is appropriate for a digital comic? We'll get there. But again, Hickman's project sounds awesome. I love Hickman. I love his writing. But to me, again, he's got all the incentives. He's got the monthly, the annual, and then the big incentive where you get special printed editions. He does say later on that at some point there will be printed versions that come out that will be made for the LCSs of the world. That being said, we don't get any specifics of like who's the distributor. Is he going through a publisher or not? I'm sure that's not easy, and if he's doing it by himself, we talked to Ron about it, and Ron was like, yeah, that kind of freaks me out a little bit because, yeah, they may be a good writer, but they may not know the logistics of getting their work actually published,
Right.
Which sounds a little scary. So that's Hickman's. And then let's jump into into Donny Cates and Stegman's, which, to be honest, I feel like has the best bang for your buck when it comes to Substack. And I say that because they're actually telling you, we are delivering you 4 comics. You're going to have access to all 4 comics digitally if you do the monthly subscription.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I heard is that some of these concepts that they had created prior to jumping onto Substack were planned to go through Image Comics. And
interesting.
They didn't, they pulled the plug on that. I believe it was Vanish and Flood, if I'm not mistaken, that were supposed to go to Image, but then they jumped on the Substack train. From my understanding, it feels like Donny and Stegman actually had been working with Substack on a deal before Tynion. I could be wrong in that, but that's kind of how they present themselves, is like, we are the number 1 Substack comparative to anybody else. At least that's what they're flaunting, and that might be a gimmick. That might be
I think it is for sure.
A sales gimmick. But anyway, so when you do subscribe, you get access to Vanish, Flood, the one you feed, which I believe the first issue or issue 0 was released earlier this year. I do remember seeing that. And then I think the last one, there's another one. I don't know if it's
there's only 3 listed.
Yeah, but he said 4. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's only 3. Anyway, so the monthly, you'll get the digital copies of those 3 books, monthly video chats and hangouts and podcasts with Danny and Ryan, live stream sketch creations, instructional videos from Ryan Stegman, script creation from Donny Cates, and probably merchandise that you'll be able to buy outside of that $8. Then you get the annual, but you will also get physical copies of the first issues of the first 3 books that they come out with, and more exclusive perks. And then you got the annual, which you'll get standards, B copies, big glitzy hardcores. And then what do we got here? So then he's got the first 1,000 get certain incentives. So basically what we're getting here is Substack is building this Patreon essentially, where you get incentives for spending more money.
Yeah.
And so again, I feel like with Donny and Stegman's, I feel like it's the one that's probably worth, like, that price point is worth that. I mean, I'm not saying I'd pay that, but I'm just saying, like, they have flushed out a better idea of what you're getting. Like, we actually are seeing work. We're seeing something, whereas the other ones that we've looked at, we were still like, this is happening. So get ready, whereas it feels like Stegman and Donny kind of have a little bit better of a grasp of what they're going to try to do. That being said, we talked to Brandon at the shop today, and he watched a video podcast of them talking, and he got the feeling that they didn't quite have a good grasp of how it was going to go out. So that's, again, our fear that, we've got these people who are not all of them are jumping ship from the main publishers, but they are doing this on their own, and it kind of shows.
Yeah.
And then the last one we'll look at is Chip Zdarsky's, who is, I think he's doing 2 comics, and I believe his is $7 a month, and then annual, I believe, is $75 or $80. I like Chip. I love his writing. I'll be interested to see how this goes. And I mean, the 2 concepts that he has, they look cool. I mean, again, this is all on them. This is independent work. They own 100% of all of it. Yeah, I mean, again, he's got the same thing. He's got it all kind of laid out. He's got his monthly at $7, annual at $70, and a ultra mega incentive for $250 a year, and you're gonna get those incentives. So let's just kind of get into the nuts and bolts of this, which is basically how do we think it's worth it? Do we think that paying $8 or $7 a month for digital comics only, and then all the, specials like the chats and the community based and video chats and podcasts and little tidbits of sketches and scripts, is it worth it?
You want me to tell you?
I want to know what you think.
Absolutely, positively, no. Not
Okay.
even close. I'm actually a ton further away from this than I was just a few hours ago when we talked about it.
Okay.
I am 100% not even thinking about any of these in the slightest bit.
Okay.
One of the things that we talked about that's obvious is like a dollar value, right? We've got to figure out how to ascribe a dollar value. Most of us are buying physical comics, each issue for $4, right? So I think we can all pretty much agree that one physical comic makes sense at $4. So if I'm spending $8 a month, I need at least the value of $8, which would be about 2 comics a month. A digital comic for me, and this is where it gets more personal.
Yeah.
But a digital comic for me is valued at $1. If it's more than 20 pages, I'll go to $2.
No, I agree. I think we both kind of hit when we talked earlier. Like $1 seems reasonable for a digital comic. You're not getting it physical. You're it's on a digital platform, and I guess maybe we're more old school in that thought process. But to me, like, I want a physical copy in my hand. I want a physical copy on my wall.
There's just no logic to $4 physical copy and a $4 digital.
Correct. 100%.
Because I'm like you've got to be like, there's clearly a difference there. So here's my big hesitation.
Okay.
At $8 a month, and if I'm only getting digital, let's just say I'm on all of these tiers, I'm going lowest tier, just monthly tier.
Yeah.
At $8, I'm going to need 8 digital comics, or 4 oversized digital comics. No one's promising that. The closest we're getting to that is, it looks like Donny and Brian Stegman have said 3 comics, 2 of which are miniseries, so they're only 6 issues long. Like they say, 6-issue minis in his Substack. Am I getting those each month? And even if if I'm not, who's to say? Like, who gets in trouble? Well, nobody, because it's his own thing. Like, he's his own editor, he's his own supplier, he's his own everything. So, like, what do? I get pissed off and unsubscribe. My money's now wasted. And I could be paying $8 a month, and Donnie could be like, well, sorry guys, I got real sick and I'm 3 months behind now, and so you're not going to get a book for 3 months. And that just doesn't fly for me, and I'm not willing to take that risk.
Yeah, and I've told you, like, I'm very conflicted with this idea, because I 100% like everybody that's doing something outside of, like, Snyder's not doing, he's on our wall here, on our picture here, but he's like doing like classes, like 101s, which is cool. I think that's awesome. I don't have a problem with any of these writers. I actually love them all. It just sucks, because, like, I'm looking at this and going, like, why can't you just make an image, right? Why can't you just make an image 2.0, create your own books, distribute your own books? I'll buy them. But like you're saying, there's no guarantee with that $8 a month. Like, you would think, like, in good faith, they're going to do that. But again, Donny gets sick, or Hickman's like, you know what? There's not enough subscribers. I can't push it out. I don't got the money to do it. So sorry to everybody that paid, but and we're talking about specific situations, but they're very valid. They're 100% valid. And I feel bad. I'll just say that right now. Like, I am with you. I think I'm exactly 100% with you. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody. This video is not meant to discourage anybody from supporting any of these creators. If you feel inclined to do it. We want you to. We're not trying to poo-poo on this idea and say, you know what, this is a total whack job. Do not do it. Don't support these people. Stick with the main public. No, we're not saying that. What we're saying, we're just kind of saying our 2 cents in the sense that we're just, it doesn't feel like this launch is at all cohesive. It feels very like rushed, and there are a lot of variables that were completely unseen. And I don't know, it just sucks because like I want to support these creators, and I have through the various works that they've done, whether it's through Marvel, DC, or independent publishing like Boom Studios or Image or whoever. But in general, like, dude, $8 is a lot for not knowing what you're going to get. Now, granted, like I said, Donny and Stegman, I think, out of everybody that's out here, has done a really good job of showing what you're going to get, and that we've already kind of seen produced pages. I do like that. I will say that. Hickman is intriguing because I do like Hickman's world building. He's very effective and good at it. Again, I don't think I can spend $8 to do it. I just don't. Outside of the comic book, and again, these are our opinions solely. You know, if you value these types of incentives, great. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't. But pictures of, you know, half-done panelings or scripts or video chatting, it doesn't. As a consumer and as someone that's in the comic book hobby, right? Like, I just don't, you know, we're not asking y'all, like, we're not at that point right now, but we would never ask you, hey, make sure to super donate, super chat in our lives. If we ever hit that point, we're never going to tell you, hey, give us money. You know what I mean? Like, we're here to talk about our hobby. And if we get to the incentive part where we're actually making any form of money because they're hobby, we're not going to tell you to give us money, right? We're just going to figure out how to work that incentive or that system, rather than say, hey, we're expecting 10 super chats this live, get it done, chat. Like, we're not doing that.
If we don't get 10 super chats before the first half hour, we're cutting the
stream,
the show short. Yeah,
we're only going 45 minutes. No, we're not saying that, and we never will. Ooh. And I just kind of feel like that's where we're going here. It's like, hey, you want my content? You gotta spend $8. And again, and Ron brought it up at the shop. He goes, what happens if the amount of subscribers doesn't hit where they need it to be to get the work out done properly? And I don't want to be that negative Nancy, and we kind of are with this in the sense of how we're saying it, but it's a valid concern. Like,
well, it sort of defies the really, really basic principle of capitalism, right? I make something, you buy that something. No one goes, or very few times is money spent on the pretext of something going to be done when you're talking about small creative endeavors. Obviously, like with homes and stuff, you buy a new home and you have to pay for it first, but like,
right.
You know, but like, I'm not going to walk into McDonald's and then they're going to be like, well, you give us the money and then you come next Tuesday to get your Happy Meal. That's not how it works. And so,
and if you want fries, you got to be an annual.
Right. And I don't know. To me, the best thing that could absolutely happen is this shit totally kicks ass. The comics are great. Everyone's creating their shit on time. The incentives are amazing, and I'm sitting here looking like a damn fool for not being a number one, sign up. That's what I want.
No, I agree.
It's it's not that I don't want this to be successful.
No, I think we're both in the same vein that we want them to kick ass. I just don't. You're essentially asking me to subscribe to like Hulu or Netflix. That content's there.
Yep, it will always be there. I'm not worried about it not being
exactly
there.
And then here's my last thing I'll say. Give credit. I don't know if they'd say give credit where credit's due, but look at Marvel Unlimited. Look at DC Infinite, I believe their app is, right? So DC's what? $7? $7. Marvel's is $9 or $10, whatever you want to call it. But you have access to a plethora of titles, Marvel history and DC history, and you're going to get whatever released 3 or 6 months ago at that point. So to me, a $9.99 or $7.99 for digital comics in that aspect is worth it, because you have a huge catalog of content to read and just dive into. And obviously these people aren't going to have that. And when this first got announced, we were both like, well, I wonder if it's going to be like you just subscribe to Substack and then you get access to all these creators. Nope. Yeah. It is individual based. And I just don't know, man. It's just a lot of unknowns. And I know we've got some people within our community that have already subscribed to certain Substacks. I know Mike, one of our good subscribers, has already jumped into Hickman's. Mike, let us know. Let us know how it goes. Kind of, you know, tell us if we're crazy. Just tell us if we're crazy. And also, let's say this. Anyone that's watching this video that feels inclined to comment, let us know. Are you going to subscribe to it? Are you not? If you are, why? If you're not, tell us why too. Just because we're very interested in it. Like, you know, we wouldn't be making this video if we weren't. So let us know. Let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, that's our little rant / discussion about Substack. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. Give us a like. And as always, read more comics. We'll see you later, fam.